Hello everyone and welcome to today's video of our series We Digitalize Our Production. In today's video we show you how we've created an overview of our 3 loading gates. How this works you see now.
This video is going to be about the loading status at different loading gates. We want to make sure that we can see when the loading process is finished and what the current status of the loading process is. We'll start with a heading to ensure that we can immediately recognize what this dashboard is meant to visualize. We'll collect the information for each individual loading gate from the SQL server. To do that, we're going to create an SQL data source under Data, Add Data Source. Since I already have this SQL server listed in my saved connections, I don't need to add any credentials. Instead, I can just select the connection directly. After that, I enter the name of the data source. Next, we'll define the reload interval and our query. This will give us the provider, the planned pallets, the current pallets, the status, as well as when the loading process should be finished. To continue the process, we're going to make a data flow on the basis of the SQL data source. Here, we can manipulate the data from the SQL server further. First, we sort the rows according to the loading gates. The reason for that is to ensure that the rows will always be listed in the same order. After that, we'll make another column to show us the remaining time available for the loading process at each respective gate. Here, we'll start by creating local variables for the closing time of the gate, as well as the current time, by using the right format to parse both as a time value. From there, we can calculate the difference between the two times. If the value is less than 0, the process has passed the target departure time. In this case, we want to display a 0 rather than a negative value for the remaining time. We'll use a new column to calculate the difference between the total number of pallets and those that have already been loaded. This will give us the total number of pallets remaining. Next, we want to show the data from the data flow on the screen using a list view. A list view has the advantage that we only need to define the design and the contents for a single row of the data source, while the rest is filled in automatically. We'll get started with the layout, which we'll put together with a series of rectangles. After that, we'll enter a text box, which we connect to the column corresponding to the name of the loading gate. Then, the other rectangles also each get their own designation. We want to show the current loading status, a time for how long the loading gate will remain blocked, the time remaining until the loading process is finished, the number of pallets that are missing, and the logo of the carrier. These data are all available in the data flow, since we can source them directly or from the SQL data source, or because we calculated them earlier in the data flow. Because of that, we can use text boxes here that we can just connect to the respective columns in the data flow. We can also define the format for the time display so that unnecessary details like the second counter isn't shown. The time until the loading process is complete and the number of pallets can be displayed without any formatting. To make sure that we select the correct provider logo, we're going to use conditional formatting. This will display the logo corresponding to the current carrier, unless there is no carrier. In that case, the logo will be hidden. After that, we'll add the current loading status in a linear gauge. Here, we'll connect the current number of pallets that have already been loaded. We'll set the maximum number of pallets at the upper limit of what we can load into the truck, in this case 20. Lastly, we're going to add a traffic light to show us the status of the loading gates. Here, we'll again use conditional formatting to display a green light when loading is in process, and a red light when there's no loading process occurring at the loading gate. That finishes up our visualization for today.
Now we are done with our visualization. What you can see here is the overview of our 3 loading gates. You can see the current trucks and their states. Thanks for watching. In our next video we show you how we create a visualization for our buffer storage. See you then.